So if you're coming in, I am just streaming on Facebook, so give me 1 second to check it's all working. There we go. Fantastic. So hi, everybody, and welcome to the end of our Midlife Happiness Habits Challenge over these last 8 days. Have you been having fun? Are you any happier? I think that's the trick, isn't it? Or we're probably just more overwhelmed than happier. But I hope you've had a little bit of fun. I've enjoyed your comments that I've received over Facebook and direct message and over email. And I really encourage you to keep checking in with me to see how your habits are going. And I think this particular challenge was fun for me because what I did was share 8 of my personal favorites. So the ones that I use in my life consistently. And I also shared 8 tips on how I've built consistency in these habits. Now, it's a journey. It has taken me time to build these habits into my life. Certainly not 8 days. And that's really the fun of the challenge, is we pack it all in. So a new habit every single day, and we pack it in a new tip every single day, and we pack it in and we challenge ourselves to see what happens. So I had some ideas from what's been going on about what it's been like for you. But really the trick is this is not something that you're going to get in 8 days. These are midlife happiness habits for life. So I've got some people on Facebook and some people on Zoom, so I might be looking around to find people's comments. So give me a second every now and again when I check to see what's happening. But yeah, so maybe just to go through the 8 quickly, if there's anybody who's online that wasn't part of the Happiness Habits Challenge, I'll just go through them quickly and you can go back and have a look at them. They're all on Facebook, they're all on YouTube, and they're all on Instagram. So the first happiness habit was, well, I mixed them up a little bit, but the first one really is to measure yourself up the happiness ladder. So where are you out of 10, if you think of a ladder with 10 rungs on the happiness ladder? And if you started with me right at the beginning, you would have measured yourself then and every single day, marked it off on your tracker, and just to see where you are. And the whole idea in this is to build awareness of where your happiness is, and even awareness and a deeper understanding of what you even call happiness for yourself. And I did actually design a very simple tracker for you, which is a very useful tool, by the way, even for those of you who don't like journaling and tracking yourselves. It is one of the easiest ways to build a habit, is to track yourself. So the first tip was, where are you on the happiness ladder? And I'd love to hear where you all are now. Let's see if there's some comments coming through. A bit tricky, I'm on my iPad as well. I never quite know where things are. Right, so there we've got some 5s and some 3s and an 8. Okay, then the next tip, which is the one I started the challenge with, probably the most challenging of all the habits, is to take action. One small step on something that's bothering you. And the trick to do this one, I love, is eat the frog. Do it first thing in the morning, get it done. The rest of your day is fantastic. So I hope those of you taking action consistently over this week made some progress on something that was incredibly difficult for you when you started. I've had some fantastic feedback on that. Things like master's documents, master's programs getting drafted, and yeah, presentations getting done. So well done, and well done for taking this one bull by the horns and going for it, because it's not an easy one. Then another one of my favorites, and the one you'll hear me talk about on the podcast a lot, is around breathing. And this is all about reducing the cortisol and the adrenaline in your system, easing it out, making space for some of those happiness hormones like oxytocin and serotonin to come in. And the trick is 3 deep breaths 3 times a day, and to put a reminder on your phone. That was a big one. Another happiness habit was mindfulness. And we spoke a little bit about mindfulness, and my idea was to take one chore and see if you can practice being mindful with one chore. And I had a couple of people who were joining me on teeth brushing, but no one volunteered doing the toilets. So please let me know what you did choose and keep that going. See if you can really build a chore mindfulness habit. Washing the dishes is a brilliant one because that's actually quite rewarding. So that's a good one. Another habit was my 2% shift or my 1% pivot. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this one because some of you were a bit confused by this one. And I obviously didn't explain it that well in the introductory video. So I'll talk to that one after that. Then there was the habit of taking it in. So choosing one thing that you do in your day that you enjoy and savoring it when you do it. So not doing anything else at the same time, just savoring it. So the act of taking it in and ritualizing that. So picking a time in your day and creating a ritual around that. The next one was anything green, get into nature. Even if you're in an apartment and you're stuck in lockdown, pot plant, green leaves. It does something amazing to our happiness to be in the presence of plants and greenery and views and blue sky and beautiful clouds. So get out there at least once a day, if not more. That's a really brilliant happiness habit. Then we had, oh, there we are on the 8th one. Can you guess? Can the newcomers guess what the last one is? It's about smiling. So smile, practice smiling. Well, even if you don't see another face, but every time you see another face, practice smiling, including your own face in the mirror. Right, so those were the eight of my personal favorite happiness habits. Now I'm going to give you 2 extra tips tonight because they kind of top and tail the 8 habits, and I think they are really important to build into your life as much as you can. So the first of those is to celebrate. So that's what we're doing here in this final live, is celebrating. And celebrating you for signing up for 8 days of happiness habits and showing up. So celebrate yourself for showing up. But most importantly, it's about building the celebration habit of celebrating yourself every single day. So in my diary or my journal, at the end of the day, I write it down and I say, celebrating today. And in there, I look for 3 to 5 things that I'm proud of that I've done in the day. And it can be tiny, can be showing up for a gym session when you don't want to go. It can be not getting into a fight with your partner, or it could be finishing a piece of work and just seeing it to completion, sending an email. Celebrate yourself. It's such a wonderful way to end off the day. Right, so some of the questions that I've had, let's have a look here. Okay, so I think the biggest question was around the 1% pivot. Oh, excuse me, that's my alarm, and the 2% shift. So I've drawn a little picture for you to try and explain what I was talking about with the 2% shift. So I used to be a volunteer with the National Sea Rescue Institute and navigating and learning about steering ships and, all the things about which degree you're going and which one you're not. But the same applies for pilots, all right? So the idea is this is your compass, your 360-degree compass, and you're going due north. Now, if you take a 2% shift of your steering, so you make a mistake and you're 2% off, at the beginning of your journey, you'll actually still be going along this line because 2% is so tiny. And then eventually you'll start veering off from where your heading was. And over time or distance, it gets further and further away. So that's it from a sea point of view. In the airline world, and they actually use this a lot, the air traffic controllers use the whole concept a lot. But the idea is if a pilot takes off at the equator and plans to fly around the world and come back to the same place, If he's 2% off in his directions, when he comes back, he's going to land about 500 miles, I think that's about 800 kilometers away from where he started. You know, that can put you on another continent. So it's really quite something. So I've taken this 2% shift and applied it into coaching for us. Is if we make a tiny shift now, who knows where we're going to be in a month, in a year, in 5 years, or in 10 years. So if you think about a habit now that you might want by the time you hit 50 or the time you hit 55, all you need to do right now is make a tiny 2% shift. And then during COVID, I turned this happiness habit for myself into something different and called it the 1% pivot because that pivot word is everywhere. And I thought, oh, I have to use it just to irritate my clients and to irritate you. And the idea then is 1% is even tinier than 2%. And the pivot is, where am I right now? Can I pivot by 1%? Can I pivot 1% happier, 1% lighter, 1% more delighted, 1% more joyous, 1% more peaceful? So that is that happiness habit. So I hope now it makes sense to all of you and you've kind of got it and that you're fine. Right, so then the other question was around mindfulness tasks that you chose. A lot of you were worried that you weren't choosing the right kind of task. The only reason I suggested a chore is because we all have chores and we usually fight them. I used to call them my hated habits. So you can imagine. You're never going to enjoy them if you call them hated habits. I mean, really. So we've got chores and it's part of our lives, and we are midlife women and we are professional midlife women and we still show up for the chores. So it is lovely to practice the art of mindfulness into a chore, because by practicing, you notice all your thoughts coming up about not wanting to do it. But then those start to clear and your stream of consciousness starts to clear around that chore. And then your mind gets to play and we create spaciousness in the mind, which is what we're trying to do in our midlife. It's very cluttered up there in our minds, isn't it? So this task or this habit was to start clearing out our brain stream or our stream of consciousness, starting to make some space and letting joy bubble up. Because as we clear our minds, joy starts to bubble up. It just naturally does. It really naturally does. It's like a smile. You smile at someone and it creates another smile. Now, the big question from all of you was around getting it all done, doing it properly, and being consistent. So all of you, almost all of you, who downloaded the workbook from me or got the workbook from me, kept saying, I haven't been doing it properly. I haven't got to it. I haven't done everything. I need to catch up on all the habits. This is not what the challenge was about. It's never about perfection. Building habits is never about perfection. All that does is wake up that little critical voice if you're not doing it perfectly. And we're going to work with that critical voice, because either we don't want to hear it or we want to transform her into something that's a little bit more encouraging than sort of forever beating on us with a stick. So remember that it's not about perfection when you're building a habit. It's about starting where you are and going from there. Then the next thing that can be really useful when you're building a habit is to take the long-term view. See yourself in 5 years' time. Yeah? See yourself in a year's time. Where do you want to be between now, which is 22nd of April, and the end of the year? What habit would you like to be so automatic in your life that it's a done deal and you don't have to think about it anymore? That's the fun piece. So take the long view and then imagine your life in 5 years' time. So if you're building a habit, like you're cleaning up your eating habits, and you give yourself 5 years to do it, it doesn't matter so much that you go out tonight and have fish and chips, which is what I'm doing after this. Going and having fish and chips is not exactly on your plan, and it's not exactly perfect eating. But take the long-term view, and it gives you such a sense of peace and joy to see yourself growing over the long term. I mean, I did this with yoga. Yoga I have been doing consistently for quite a long time, but in the last 2 years, I wanted to take my yoga to the next level. And it took me 2 years for me to be able to say that my yoga is where I would like it to be. Not my practice, as in, the fact that I might not get into this position or that position, but the showing up on my mat every day without fail. So that took me 2 years to build that. So you see, there's no perfection going on here. Okay, the next question here was around, missing habits. And so I have heard that it's really useful, and it doesn't really work for me, but there is a concept of don't miss twice. So if you miss a habit, don't miss it the next day. I find often the weekends can be a tricky time because you're missing twice and then it's quite hard to start again on Monday. So if you are building a habit, I would try and build something in that you could do at least to Saturday, Monday to Saturday, or Sunday to Friday, so that you're only missing once. I think that's in the lovely book of Atomic Habits by James Clear, which is a great book if you're interested in building habits. And he talks about don't miss twice. Something else he talks about is habit stacking, which I think is a great tip. Well, I haven't actually spoken about that this week. But habit stacking is where you look at your day, or especially like your morning routine, for example, and you see what you're good at already. Like, you're going to brush your teeth. Oh, you wake up, go to the toilet, brush your teeth, and you stick a habit straight after that, or a habit straight before that. So as a good example, this was one that was given to me by a meditation teacher many years ago. Building a meditation habit is extraordinarily difficult. I spend a lot of time in my coaching working on this with you guys. And one of the advices of a Tibetan master was, you put your mat or meditation cushion next to your bed, and you wake up and you roll out of bed onto your cushion. And that's how you can be sure that your meditation is going to happen. So try that. Try a bit of habit stacking. Okay, and then the last question was around building accountability to yourself. Okay, so this is really interesting, and something that I think is so big for all of us is that we tend to be very accountable to other people. Look at yourself when you've got a meeting in your calendar. You show up, don't you? Every time without fail. But it's someone else's meeting, or it's your meeting, but other people are going to be there. So we tend to be accountable to other people before we are accountable to ourselves. So there are many ways to build accountability. And that is part of the long-term habit building process, is building accountability from the outside in. And I spend time with my clients building accountability from the inside, because obviously as a coach, I'm not with you forever. I'd love to be with you forever, and you're welcome to be with me forever. But the idea is I'm not with you forever. And so that anything that we create and build, habits and practices and ways of thinking and ways of viewing your life, you want that to be true for you so that it lasts long after the coaching. However, I would suggest that you do look for accountability partners, either a friend or a coach, which is kind of an intense accountability relationship. And then I also want to offer to you to join my private coaching group that's in Facebook. So it's attached to the Facebook page where we're live at the moment, but it's a private group. So we don't kind of have other people in there. It's just professional midlife women who want to work on their self-coaching and growing themselves and joining together to do some interesting things in life. That's my ultimate dream, is what are we going to do out there together? So if you go onto the page, you can join the group from there and apply to the group. And what I was thinking of doing after this particular challenge was, we've got the 1st of May is coming up. And so we've got 4 months after that. And I love to work in 108 days, building habits, building consistencies, coaching programs over 108 days, which is about 15 weeks. And the 108 days thing, you'll get to know when you understand me, but it's got to do with the number of beads in a meditation mala. So it's quite random, but it's a wonderful, yeah, it's just a wonderful thing to get your head around. So I thought what we might do in the private group is all of us choose something we want to build or change about ourselves, about our lives in 108 days from the 1st of May. And I'm not going to be doing lives every single day. It's going to be quite low key, but it would be fun to do that together and see how the group accountability works for you as you build your own inner accountability. Right, okay, we've now come almost to the end of the session, but I want to give you my last little happiness tip. So we started with the celebration at the beginning, and now we're going to end with this one. So these are the 2 extra on top of the 8. And the last one is gratitude. Okay, now we've heard about gratitude as being core and fundamental to happiness. You know, that deep, profound, whole being happiness. And it is about gratitude. And yes, absolutely, it's about being incredibly grateful for our lives, all right? Grateful for the beautiful, positive things in our lives, and grateful for the not so great. You know, the 50-50 side of life. Life is 50% negative and 50% positive, the yin and yang. In every good thing, there's dark. Every dark thing, there's light. And it's about being grateful to even the difficult things. And it is hard if you're in that place in your life right now to see that and to be grateful for that. But the hard moments, the difficult things, are actually our invitation to step into an immense opportunity for growth, and actually an immense opportunity for growing happiness. I promise you, it's the place to go, as scary or unpleasant as it is, to spend time there, to get good with your feelings there, and to see it as an invitation to step into your own growth and your own evolution. So that's gratitude for your life, good and bad. And then gratitude to yourself for showing up, yeah, for just taking some time to do something for you. Does it feel that gratitude? And then from me, like a deep, deep thank you for joining me on this 8-day Happiness Habits Challenge in our midlife, and for joining me this evening. I really am so grateful to have you in my life and to be able to share my happiness habits, my life, my stories with you. It's fun. It really adds to my happiness in an enormous way. It brings me so much joy, delights me. And that's it from me. So let's go. Go out there, enjoy those 8 happiness habits. And the extra 2, give me a shout, join the group, and stay in contact. I'd love to hear more about how you're getting on. So sending you much love for an absolutely beautiful rest of your Thursday.